Everybody, as we are approaching the end of summer and autumn is nearly here, slash spooky season, Halloween, I often start to get messages from people about Primevil music, how it's made or what goes into making a piece of music for a zone or an attraction. When the event is happening, or even after the event is finished, I often get messages from people asking if they can hear the music or if they can have it, which I'm afraid I can't do because it's exclusive to the event. So what I thought I would do is just put together a video talking through the stages involved with creating a piece of music for Primevil. So it's not going to be an in-depth compositional analysis, just basically outlining the building blocks behind what goes into a piece of music at Primevil. I'm not going to give away too much information here about or reveal too much about the songs because I don't want to ruin the surprise ahead of the event. I want you guys to be able to go along and enjoy it without knowing too much about what you're going to hear when you go in there. So I hope you find this interesting, and if you do find it exciting, Primevil is definitely the best event around here for horror, Halloween, etc. So go and check it out, and hopefully you'll like what you see and hear. Okay, so step number one is reading and understanding the storylines. So the attraction descriptions are now on the website, so if you're excited to see what's going to be at Primevil this year, they are now on there. I will get those attraction descriptions through, and it's up to me to kind of interpret them, to talk to the awesome team at Primevil to find out what they want in there and do some homework around the outside of those descriptions basically. So that could involve looking at movies in the style of those attractions, so I can see how other composers have approached it, whether there's any sort of kind of common chord progressions which are being used or scale types. The dating of the actual attraction, so like the time period of it, is really good because it also allows me to pick my instrumentation effectively and to kind of approach the planning of it before I even try and create any ideas. So step number one is do some homework, have a look at the storylines, the attraction themes, the styles, what already exists around that style of horror. Will it lead me in the right direction with choosing my instruments or tempo or rhythms and stuff like that, so I can start to form an idea in my head before I've even actually put it into the door, using logic by the way. Certain things like the circus attractions, they're going to have very kind of stereotypical instrumentation and chord progressions. Other attractions might be a bit more open in terms of sound design or using creative music technology as opposed to more sort of traditional compositional techniques. So even things like looking at the layout of the event or the floor plans or where the speakers are going to go could lead me to kind of make certain musical moves. So I never kind of launch into it. Do some homework, do some research, and then take it from there. Step number one. Okay, so when it comes to starting one of these projects, because I've been working for Primevil for several years now, I've managed to build up a collection of templates to work from, and it's a really useful tool to have when you're creating a piece of music. So if you're not aware of what a template is a pre-saved project in your digital audio workstation which has instrumentation, certain channels on there, certain effects, certain processing, certain routing already loaded up to save you time when it comes to starting the process. So if you find you're using things consistently, it makes sense to save them as a template to save you a lot of time, which then gives you more time for the actual creation process. I do have a few different templates. So I have a circus style template. There's been a few variations on the circus now, so I've done a few templates for that. A few of the attractions have had fairly heavy kind of hard hitting trance music, things like Arachnophobia or Nightmare Clinic I think it was called. So I've got a couple of sort of trance style templates. This template is my kind of go-to for things like the entrance theme or on attraction, which doesn't kind of have a specific style like the circus or Arachnophobia for example. So I have a drum sub for my drum samples, a synth stack for some kind of consistent pads that I use in a lot of different attractions, some drum effects to kind of complement the drums, things like reverse cymbals, reverse snares. There's a snare bomb there as well. I have an orchestral stack here. I'm just going to pop my headphones in so I can hear what I'm doing. So with the orchestral stack I tend to use Metropolis Arc. Some great sounding banks in there. So in here I've got a lot of different instruments in here, pre-panned, pre-processed as well. So I've got some choir samples there, bass, some horns, strings, percussion, piano, and some orchestral risers at the bottom there. So I've listened to how some of these kind of sound as they are. Turn up a little bit. Different types of choir samples, bass, strings. I've split them into different types of articulation as well, so staccato, legato, etc. This is basically a time saver, so it basically means that you don't have to even go through and load these channels up. So I basically preloaded those with all the different effects and panning information that I need. That's for a bass guitar. That's for electric guitar. I've got a few different channels there with distortion on, a lead channel as well. And then the sound design stack is at the bottom. So this is where things like zombie noises or screams or monster noises, rats, doors slamming, they'll all be in there. So I'll load this up. It's all there, good to go, and then I can just kind of get into the compositional side of it straight away. Okay, so the next step is actually creating some of the music. Now again, I'm not going to give away what's in some of the attractions because it's very important that we kind of keep it a surprise for the event. However, you have heard the motif for Primevil. It was in the intro of this video, and it's been at Primevil for the last 6 or 7 years. So a motif or a leitmotif is an idea which represents a character or a theme or a setting. It's like a musical branding for something effectively. So Primevil has one. So for those of you that have been to Primevil, you might recognise one of the main themes, which is the... So that's one, and there's another one which is like... So when it comes to creating, or if you're starting from scratch, you need a motif. You need a catchy short theme that's going to represent the business, the branding, the event, the attraction, whatever it needs to be, and one which is easily memorable, like a hook. You need a musical hook effectively. So what I just played were a couple of the motifs for Primevil. So where possible, I'll try and sneak those in to other attractions. Again, it won't always work on all of them. So for example, I couldn't really get them to work in the circus, but if I was to start a piece from scratch, like Warehouse 51 that I'm working on at the minute, if I need some musical ideas, instead of creating something completely new, I'll try and use those motifs that already exist and morph them and warp them into what's going to become the new attraction. So it's really important that you create a couple of short, catchy themes to represent the whole of the event, and then try and build from there really. So using variations of those, or even sneaking them in and hinting at them elsewhere, can be a really useful thing to kind of build on. So that's how some of the other attractions have been made, not starting from scratch, nothing new, taking what people already know and associate with Primevil and working from there to make the new piece. Now I've just put this together for the purpose of the video, so it's just an example. It's not going to be in Primevil, it's just for this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to play you the motif on its own, and then throughout this clip I'm going to introduce the other layers. So you're going to hear the motif, then you'll hear the other parts of the orchestra come in, things like the choir parts, the percussion. I've thrown an organ in at the end, and some riser effects as well. So hopefully you'll get an idea of what I start with and then what builds up around it. See what you think. Then it's onto the sound design. This is my favourite part because it really brings the music to life. So this is things like voiceovers, some of the monsters, zombie noises, floorboards, doors, water drips, rats, everything which makes it human, brings it to life and makes it scary really. So I layer these in right at the end, and it's really cool to see how it transforms the piece. So over the years, whenever I've recorded certain sound effects, I've always exported them and saved them into a sample bank. So eventually what you'll end up with is a library of sounds which you can use every year. So I don't have to re-record things, I can go back to what I've already done. So I've got zombie warnings, there's Latin demon voices in there, screams, firecrackers, zombies, prayers, rats, more screams, spiders. There's a vomit sample in there somewhere, which is actually a real vomit sample. A friend of mine overindulged on some beverages one evening, and I took the opportunity to record him throwing up for the purpose of horror. So there is actually some real vomit sound effects in Primevil. If, like me, you don't like your own voice, and I do apologise because you've had to listen to this for quite a while now in this video, it's good to get multiple people involved when it comes to doing the voices. So the original circus theme that I did in, I think, 2012 features all of the clowns that were in that attraction in the order that they actually appeared in the maze. Things like bones breaking, try and find objects like twigs or wood and, you know, snapping them and stuff like that.
Quality snapping.
I think for the rats I used squeaky toys, hand puppets and stuff. It is quite a fun process trying to find objects to represent some of the sound effects that you get in there. So I'm quite lucky in that I play in a heavy metal band, and our vocalist Lee is a bit of a beast when it comes to the screaming type of vocals, which are really popular in sort of modern metal music. So he's been really helpful in creating monster noises, werewolves and stuff like that. So I'm quite fortunate with friends that I have in music and people nearby, so I've been quite fortunate there. But eventually you end up with a lot of samples, then I go through, layer them in, pan them appropriately, and see how it transforms the piece. Those are the main sort of stages to building the piece for Primevil. Obviously there's a lot of pieces to do, so it does take a lot of time. But hopefully it gives you an insight into some of the stages involved with making it happen. So I hope you found it interesting. If you have, or you just like horror as a whole, go and check Primevil out. Have a good time, be scared, and have a listen to the music as well. Thanks for checking it out.